Welcome back to another edition of Hoop Scoop with the coach Doug Biega. Doug, we were on a little bit of a hiatus, but we're back, and we're gonna something exciting we'll announce at the end of the show. But we want to mention, and I want to throw a plug out to PJ Latsko, who's the sponsor of your segment here, but also now the sponsor of Pittsburgh Sports Now. And I want to thank PJ for all the support he's given our different venues here, and I can tell you we're going to be out there to purchase a new ride.
Nice.
And if you're
Where else
in
would
the
you rather
market,
go, right?
yeah, exactly, no other place. And PJ, we appreciate the support, but let's get into some hoop talk, Doug. You
Sure.
over the weekend, you were at the PBC Roundball Classic. There were a lot of, it was well attended. Can you just maybe give a little rundown on, for the people who weren't familiar with
Sure.
it, what it is and the good event that's building up again?
Sure. Now, I would assume most of the people watching this right now are college basketball fans, so they will remember the old school Dapper Dan Roundball Classic that took place, as we spoke about off air, at the Civic Arena. That's when the Roundball Classic was at its best, run by Sonny Vaccaro, who famously was the guy that signed Michael Jordan to Nike, and the rest is sort of...
LeBron was there, right?
LeBron...
Was he at Pittsburgh or no?
He played a game at Pittsburgh,
okay.
but there was no Roundball
Right.
Classic at that time. So a good friend, John Gianmarco, who's the president and founder of the Pittsburgh Basketball Club, he has a relationship with Sonny, and it's always been a dream of his. He's always talked to me about it, about bringing the old school Roundball Classic back to the city of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Basketball Club, it only makes sense, right? There are a lot of end-of-the-season high school all-star games. He wanted to be different. There's games out there that charge kids to participate. That's not an all-star game. This guy wanted to do it first class, shoe sponsorship, shoe endorsement. Adidas took care of everything. He wanted to bring kids in from all over the country. We had 3 Louisville recruits show up, a lot of guys from Brooklyn in the area. There were some guys from Richmond, Virginia showing up and playing. He really wanted to give it that nostalgic flavor that the Dapper Dan Roundball Classic brought to Pittsburgh. It's going to experience some growing pains, quite honestly, and obviously, it took place at Montour High School, which is beautiful. It's a state-of-the-art facility, but you would like to see that as the first step, and hopefully, eventually, I'd like to see him perhaps in Robert Morris's new venue, Duquesne's new venue, PPG. Get into the city, and
Right.
which is where this game really belongs. And I think that's his long-term dream with this.
How do you feel to win for the first? You were there in attendance. You saw everything. There was a Western Pennsylvania All-Star game, followed
Sure.
by the dunk contest, followed by the quote national game. All in all, for the first time, good reviews.
I mean, I had a good time. My son got to sweep the floor. We got to shake hands with some of the guys. I got to have a nice sit-down with Maceo, who I'm a big fan of, going to Duquesne, let him know that I'm going to be covering him for the next 4 years. First year, it went very well, I think. It's in its infancy. It's a reboot, if you will. And so it's, like I said, it's going to experience some growing pains. I would like to see it get more juice out of the city. I think when basketball's a city sport, when you get it into a city, into Pittsburgh, I think that'll add some life to it. And I know that's what John's plans are long term. But if you're comparing it to some other local high school games, all-star games, it's got to be the best one around already in year one.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe do something in the future with John and find out
Yeah.
about future plans, and I'm sure he's already starting now for next year's event.
He is like that, yes.
All right, let's talk about a couple players that you were able to see. Pitt fans will be interested to get your take. Number one, let's start off with forward Kareem Koulibaly. What did you see from him?
Well, I saw a lot of athleticism, and I'm kind of thinking I can see what Coach Capel's going for, at least on the defensive side of the ball. He's going for these guys that can defend multiple positions, which Koulibaly and Champagne both can do. But you're talking about a guy who did a very workmanlike effort in this All-Star game. He finished with 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block, 1 assist. He put something in every statistical category, which is what you'd like to see. And what I believe, it might have been you that referred to him as a face-up 4, and he does have that rare ability to defend multiple positions. So I could see them kind of with Champagne, with Koulibaly, guys like that. I could see them doing a lot of switching on the defensive end coming up this season. And they obviously need depth, and they need guys that are going to play hard and have a high compete level. And that's something that I noticed for an all-star game. This game had a very high compete level. There was a lot of pride on the floor. No one was laughing. No one was clowning around. No one was going through the motions. These guys had a lather. They were competing. And the 2 guys at the head of the front, as far as that effort, were the 2 Pitt guys.
Yeah, Champagne, he was the Pennsylvania MVP at 14-7.
Right.
From everything I hear about him, he's a guy that maybe doesn't excel in. This is not a knock. He doesn't excel in one thing. Is great in one thing, but he can do everything really well.
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, rebound, shoot the three. Is that? He's going to be a valuable guy for Jeff to come off the bench.
Well, anytime you could do more than one thing, your value is enhanced, of course. And what I noticed about him, and it's going to sound odd to say like you did, when he walked onto the floor, I didn't see him as 6'8". He looked like 6'4", 6'5", and it was because he was so smooth, so coordinated, so muscular for a side guy. Like 6'8", sometimes with an 18-year-old, there could be a little bit of awkwardness and a little bit of stiffness. He moved smoothly. And he was the one who you could almost kind of see him getting a little bit annoyed with the score of the game. Like he has that high compete level. Brooklyn. Okay, so and that's when Pitt was at their best. Recent memory was when we were getting guys from New York to come to Pittsburgh, and I kind of think that's a sneaky good destination for guys who go from Detroit, from LA, from Chicago, from New York. Pittsburgh, it's a city, but it's a manageable city. You're not going to go to the country and like a Big Ten campus where there's trees and water and grass. You want that city living if you're from one of those major cities, and Pittsburgh is a much more manageable city than those big ones. I always thought it was a gold mine. Philadelphia, more Philly kids should be coming to Pitt to play. But I liked his moxie. He tried to dunk on a couple people. Like he took a couple matchups personally, and I'm guessing that's the type of athlete that Coach Capel's going after right now.
Yeah, Justin will be coming to Pitt next year. His brother decided to reclassify. He'll be at 2020, and when I talked to him, he's going to a prep school, and he's going to instead of a wing, he's going to try to master the. He's going to try to move the point to enhance his
value.
His value.
I mean, you like long guards nowadays. I mean, you saw it in the Final Four. Long guards are in now.
All right. One other guy that you saw that played in the first game that maybe necessarily Pitt basketball fans won't be interested in. Maybe they will. But Pitt football fans definitely is Aliquippa's Will Gibson. And he is no doubt he's an athlete.
Well, I have an affinity for the young man because his dad is one of my better friends. We taught together in Aliquippa. His dad is a current principal at Aliquippa High School. So Will comes from good stock. So I liked seeing him do well. And he put on an elite athletic performance. He had 36 points. He made shots from everywhere, but you could see where he picked the right sport. Let's put it that way. And that's not to say that he couldn't play basketball somewhere, but his athleticism is what jumped out at me much more than his basketball ability. He should have competed. He should have won the dunk contest, quite arguably. I mean, and he wasn't even in that game, but he injected himself in it, which shows that's that Aliquippa stuff. They think they're going to win. So he put himself in the dunk contest and almost walked away with the win. But what an elite athlete he can be. Now, he's going to be a project. He's not going to get on the field this year, I don't imagine, and excel. I think you give him a year or two under Pitt's weight program and under their offensive scheme with the new offensive coordinator, everything, Will could be a valuable tool. And I wish him nothing but the best because his dad is a wonderful guy, comes from a great family and a great high school.
Let's put a bow on the college basketball season. Every sport now, it's offense, high octane. How many plays can you? All that stuff. But this college basketball, Texas Tech, Virginia. I'm sure that was a game that you enjoyed watching very much, and it also proved a point, doesn't it?
Well, it did to me. It made me look like I know what I'm talking about. Like if you talk to 100 people, 90 of them probably found the game very boring because we are all so trained right now that offense is what we want to see. But for a purist like me, I mean, there was no more pleasant thing to watch than those two teams play defense. Both man-to-man defenses exclusively, but very different styles of man-to-man defense. Texas Tech would get after you a little bit more, extend on the perimeter, really pressure the ball, whereas Virginia had that pack line defense where they were more about positioning and just keeping you out of the lane and making things difficult. And if you think about it, if you want to link it back to what we do here, it isn't a stretch for a school like Pitt with, let's just say, undermanned recruits compared to the North Carolinas and the Dukes to be able to implement a Texas Tech or a Virginia style and compete at this level. The blueprint's out there. If you get 5-year guys, 4-year guys, even some 3, I saw Virginia had a bunch of guys commit after they won this game. But if you get those type of athletes and you groom them under your system like Howland, like Jamie did, you can win playing a defensive brand of basketball. People say it's boring. To me, there's nothing harder to do than defend and tell the guy in front of you, you're not going to score on me. And, man, when coaches really get down to it and start breaking away tendencies and taking things away, it's beautiful to watch. And I thought the Final Four was great. And it did show me that schools like Pitt are not that far off.
You did see a lot of guys try to run the lane, and you had you had to have your man pants on if you wanted to.
Right, there's
Get
no
down-
freebies in there. There was no free spaces. You had to work for everything, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'd say I don't like the free willy dilly style right now. I like when you have to work for things.
All right, last thing here is, as we're reporting on, AAU is going all around, big tournaments in Dallas, Atlanta, a couple other places this weekend. A little bit of a break, but for the players that aren't competing on the AAU circuit, to your days at this time of the year, what were you getting ready for with your team and preparing for the next season?
Well, if you are a major college prospect as a player, you're not with your high school right now. You are on the AAU circuit. You're getting exposure. You're competing against higher level because you're a different level than a high school basketball player typically is. But if you are a high school basketball coach, it depends on the program. Like, let's say for us, for instance, at Beaver Falls, we typically didn't finish until the very end of March. So I would take April off and I would start to get back into it like this week in May. I would start to ramp it up again. Other schools that finish their seasons a little bit earlier, they're going full bore in March and April and then in May, and they're making it happen for their next year's season. John and the summer leagues are coming up. Gianmarco with his
Right.
Pittsburgh Basketball Club, summer leagues are coming up. Spring tournaments are coming up. There's a lot you can do to get better as a team and just build some continuity. And here's where you kind of build your identity. You get your kids before they even start working on in the summer. You work on them in the spring, you tell them what to work on in the summer, and then you hammer those guys in the fall or when they come back from football, and you build your program that way.
All right, Doug is good as ever. He had some time off, but it's like riding a bike for
Like
this
riding
man.
a bike.
Like riding for this man right here. Doug Biega, Hoop Scoop, sponsored by Beaver County Auto and PJ Latsko. And we just want to say at the end, we're going to have something we haven't. We're putting the finishing touches on, but if you like Doug, you're going to get more because we're going to be starting a new feature here with Doug and PJ coming up in the near future. We're not going to let out any details yet, but it's going to be an all-encompassing. You're going to see Doug's vast and PJ's vast knowledge of sports. That'll be coming up, so stay tuned for that.
Knowledge is one good description of it. Yeah, there's vast containers of something that are going to be talked about for sure, yes.
All right, we appreciate you joining us, and we will be back probably next week with another edition of Hoop Scoop with Doug Biega.
Take care.